Hello there, and welcome along to the conclusion of Season 2 of the Gardener Ben podcast. Well, to say it has been a long slog is an understatement, and going through some of the notes this morning to do a little bit of a recap on this current season, I'm absolutely astonished at some of the amazing guests seem such a long time ago. But I suppose I did start lining up the guests just after Christmas last year. It's been an absolutely amazing season, and I've had the pleasure in bringing you some wonderful guests who have shared with you their experiences and their journeys, including Sarah from Meadow and Thyme, who talked to us all about flower pressing, Tristan, the Cheshire head gardener, who's an avid upcycler, Luai, the name behind the Urban Farm and Kitchen account, who shared with us his passion for growing tomatoes and, more importantly, cooking with the food he grows in his small garden. We were joined by my lovely internet chum Karen from the account Rake Expectations on Instagram, who talked to us all about her lovely little garden in Fife and the weather conditions up there and how it makes growing challengeable. Staying in Scotland, I had a really enjoyable conversation with Katrina and Clayton from Building a Food Forest Scotland, who share their journey of growing food and homeschooling online. Next, the podcast headed back down to Hampshire, and I got to speak to Nick from Gilbert's Dahlias, who shared with you all his passion for growing and, more importantly, hybridising dahlias from his nursery just outside Romsey. His passion really shone through, and he won over the audience with his dry sense of humour. Staying briefly in the UK, I got to speak to Bea, who is the account holder behind Our English Topiary Garden, who shared with us her great love story of topiary and how it's taken her and her husband nearly 2 decades to create their beautiful garden, which they share online on Instagram. Our English Topiary Garden was followed by a couple of international guests, and we winged our way back across the Atlantic Sea, where I got to speak to Justin, who is a member of the Tacoma Rose Society. Next up was Brad from Select Roses in British Columbia. He's a rose retailer and rose hybridator, and has been doing so for many years and is a real wealth of knowledge and expertise. I had an absolute hoot the week after that when I got to speak to Vicky, the owner of New Forest Hostas. I honestly could speak to Vicky and laugh with her for hours and hours on end, and hope that she joins me on the podcast again soon. The next 2 accounts that I spoke to left me a little starstruck, if I'm honest, the first of which being Becky from So Much More, who is an author and knows so much about soils. It was wonderful to have such an open conversation and hear her talk so passionately about her chosen subject. Next up was the lovely Rob Smith from Rob's Allotment, once again an author and content creator, sharing huge amounts of information about growing vegetables and, more importantly, how he uses them in the kitchen. It was then the beginning of show season, and I headed off to the BBC Gardeners World Spring Fair at Bewley, where I had some amazing conversations whilst out and about with Hilliers Garden Centres, local garden designer David Long's Gardens, the team from Kingston Moorwood College and Capel Manor, all of which showcase some amazing talent and have wonderful careers in the horticulture industry moving forward. After that, I had the pleasure in catching up with John from John Williamson Dartmoor on Instagram. He's a maker of the Devon Stave basket and let us know all about the process and the problems facing his industry in the changing world. I was then joined by one of the heavyweights of the UK horticultural world. Matt Pottage joined me for an episode of the podcast, who is in charge of the Royal Parks and formerly worked at Wisley. As we moved into the summer months, I was joined by Dr. Costa, who spoke to us all about airborne allergies and will be joining me for an episode closer to Christmas as we all think about bringing our Christmas trees into the house. Next up was a lovely personal chat for myself as I headed back across the Atlantic Ocean to speak to the New England Rose Society. Next up was Christine from Santa Cruz Dahlias, a dahlia grower, author and dahlia hybridiser over on the west coast of America. And finally, to conclude season 2, I had this pleasure in speaking to Matt from Peterbilt's Roses. Finally, to conclude the season, I'm checking back in with my ever so lovely and long-suffering husband Mark. Who has been busy holding the fort here at North Lodge while I not only film 70 personal rose reviews for you, but also conclude season 2 of the podcast? Go on then, hit me. What have you got?
First, we've got to decide who is Makita Oliver and who is Lily Allen. I want to be their podcast.
I'm definitely Lily Allen.
Oh, I don't mind being Makita Oliver, but I thought I'd be more than Lily Allen. I also want to do a disclaimer that I asked AI what questions we should ask each other that weren't just about gardening, so they're a bit cheesy.
Okay, next question.
No, that's not a question. Right, so the first one, and there's a question, and then there's a follow-up to it. It says, tell us the story of how you met. Then it says, first impressions of each other.
Next question.
Go on.
No comment. You honestly want everybody to know how we met?
Well, yeah.
The internet.
Why don't? This is the question. You told me to come up with questions. I said, did you want to know what they were beforehand? Which you said, no, you wanted to go in blind.
Okay, the internet.
Yeah, we met on the internet,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, that's it. This is going to be a dynamic podcast.
Do you honestly want everybody to know what we met?
Then we met online. We started. The story of how we met is the internet.
Okay, the story.
Okay,
all right. Well, you know the story, but
I know. I'm not the viewer.
They're not viewing either. They're listening. Shut up.
Oh God, I've got a spot.
Right. How we met is I was stalking my ex-husband, wasn't I?
Okay.
That's exactly how we met. My ex-husband,
my
who I had left that week, had promised me he was no longer on the very popular dating website that I had met him on, and it turns out that he was. So when I logged back into my inactive profile that had been shut down to find my ex-husband there, I also had a guest member, had 3 clicks of other people I could click on locally, and you were the third and final click, and I fell in love with you. That was it, instantly. I messaged you and I said, I know this is not how this works, I don't have any pictures, and you probably think I'm crazy, but I think I already love you. And you messaged me back saying, hi, yeah, message me back when you got a picture.
I literally did.
And that was 16 years ago.
I literally did. And you did follow up with pictures.
I did, didn't I? I went back to I had a conversation with my ex-husband who I'd left, and I said, I need to borrow the camera. So I borrowed the camera.
And hang on, you told him you needed to borrow the camera because your nephew had just been born and you
that was it, yeah. Yeah,
off.
something along that line, yeah. And yeah, so took pictures of my nephew and myself, and then sent you some pictures online of myself. And then obviously I had worked out that my ex-husband was still on this popular dating website because he was a cheating scoundrel. But what do you mean?
I didn't mean go into like...
Well, he was a cheating scoundrel. Scoundrel.
Okay, well, let's hope he doesn't listen to it.
I don't care if he listens to it. If he does listen to it, more shade on him.
Anyway.
Yes, cheating scoundrel. And anyway, got myself lots of ammunition for my horrible, very messy divorce, and then moved forward a relationship with you while sleeping on my airbed in my office next to my stockroom, which was also my staff room, office, bedsit.
Stockroom.
Yeah.
And I think one of the pictures you uploaded of yourself was a very hot picture, but you were in front of a stock room full of boxes of crisps.
And Walker's crisps, yeah.
I was carb-free at the time, and I'd been carb-free for a year, and it was really working out well. And there was
piles of prawn cocktail and Worcester sauce crisps.
Known as Mr. Fahrenheit was the name of your bakery, and
yeah.
There was a wall of crisps, and you sold baguettes for a living, and it was downhill.
I did, baguettes and pastries and pasties.
Loved by carbicide.
There we go. I
probably shouldn't ask this one because I know what you're going to say here. Is first impressions of each other. I'm going to go first. I remember my first impression was I saw you drive by the bar that we were meeting at. I was outside
in my bright orange van.
In your truck, yeah, van. And you disappeared for like 5 minutes. I was like, shit, he saw me and drove off.
He's ghosted me already.
Wow, this is awkward. And I hung in there even though I was like, this is... And then eventually you I think I don't know what you said, you were struggling to find a parking space.
I was struggling to find a parking space.
But yeah, I did think I thought, that's him. And then he didn't come back down the road. And I was like, oh, okay. But I think my first impression was probably 2 things.
I'm not signing up for anything.
No, 2 things. One, I thought we were grown up. Probably, you were quite together. Yeah,
I had a business and a mortgage, and I was getting divorced. Yeah, I was kind of grown up.
I don't know if that was my threshold for grown up, but I did see you as a grown up. And 2, I think it was. I remember I read something. I know I talk about this all the time, but I read something on the way over to meeting you that said like hints and tips for your first date: do not talk about exes. And we spent the whole evening talking about our exes because at the time I was living in my ex's spare room, and I didn't realise this till 2 years later. I presumed you'd been separated from your ex for quite a while, and it wasn't until about 2 years later I finally did the maths that there was like a 2-week gap between your husband and meeting me.
I think you're being very generous. I don't think it was more than about 6 days.
No, I was trying to make it sound.
No,
I
okay,
was trying to make it sound, but I don't think I ever clicked it was that quick. I think
I was very much ready to make. I had exhausted all options with the ex-husband. The day that I packed my bags and left, it was very much done. There was no. It was. I had done everything in my power to right that particular ship, and then I let it sink.
And then be kind with your first impressions of me, but bearing in mind they were wrong.
That you were wild, and you were going to eat me alive. We went on our first date. I went back to my little sandwich shop the next day, and my staff were very excited because they all said I needed someone my own age because my ex-husband was 11, 12 years older than me. And they said, you need someone your age. For clarity, there's 18 months difference between Mark and I am. I am 18 months older than him, 2 school years older than him. So my staff were very excited that I'd met this person of my own age. And I went back and told my staff, who were very excited to see how my first date had gone. And I said, I think he's going to kill me. And they said, what on earth are you on about? I said, well, he's been out this weekend. He spent his entire salary in one weekend in Brighton. He has fallen over and he's lost a hoodie that he'd only just bought that was like 80 quid, and he's lost it in a nightclub in Brighton, and he didn't get home till like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to bake bread and and open a sandwich shop. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up with this one. I think he'll kill me. Those were my first.
Wrong, though, weren't you?
You were wild when I met you.
No.
Mark, you were partying hard.
For context,
I was in bed. I was in bed at 8 o'clock and getting up at 4 o'clock every day, 6 days a week.
Life. I live like an old person.
Well, now you do, yeah.
I live like an old person. But for context, my ex was again 10, 11 years older than me, and I'd had a very settled down life. So when we did break up, I took a year to kind of make up for my
spend all your money and drink a huge amount of knock-on vodka,
and just had a bit of a year of like a I don't know, not a gap year, a drink year, I don't know, but yeah, so it was only that was the comparison. That wasn't who I was at source. Right, next question, and this is, I kept this in because I think neither of us can answer it, so it'll be quite interesting. It says, non-gardening hobby, hate that word, stroke interest we both have.
Easy.
They don't have to be the same.
That's easy.
What?
Cooking. The other thing that I thoroughly enjoy is cooking.
Yeah.
Always have done.
That's yours.
I suppose flower pressing is...
I think that can count.
DIY, obviously I do a lot of DIY.
Is that an interest?
Not really, but when I live with you it has to be, because you break everything. It has to be fixed.
I think problem solving is what you like.
Yeah, the problem is you break everything and it has to be fixed.
Mine, and this is quite cheesy.
Go on then.
I think mine's self-development.
That's a good hobby.
Yeah, but I think if I'm not listening to something, either a podcast or and it is non-fiction, it's not fiction. I get those two confused, but the ones that's not real, and I'm learning about other things through that, or watching something, or I just have to be absorbing something.
You do have to grow.
Yeah, and I think that's probably mine. Right, question 3.
Next question.
What is a gardening / cottage project that you disagreed upon, and how did you compromise? Do you want me to tell you what that means first?
No, I think I can. I can. You're making me out to be some sort of a person who doesn't get asked questions. I get asked questions all the time.
No, I just didn't know if you know what compromise meant.
Of course I know what compromise means.
Go on. Garden /
I'm trying to think.
Cottage.
Well, there wasn't a compromise. It's the dining room ceiling, which is still the bane of my life, and I cannot face repainting it. You made me paint the dining room ceiling.
Don't say it.
I had to be careful. I nearly used a very bad swear word then. Red.
It's not red.
It's bloody red.
It's not red. That's not red.
What colour is it then?
I don't know, like cherry or
it's red.
It's not red. That's not a red.
It's hideous. I hate it. You made me paint it.
No.
Yes, you did. And you said trust you. You said paint the 5th wall.
It was...
More is more.
I've just lost
Something along that line.
It was...
Again, the audience don't need to know you've lost your pen, do they? Yeah, it's the inside voice.
It was... when we did the dining room, it was because this was for our forever home, and it was for us. It was only when we were exploring...
It might have been for you, but it was not for us.
When we were exploring moving on, did I think actually it can never be white. It wouldn't suit the wallpaper. So I do think that is one...
And now I can't face cutting in any other colour to the incredibly expensive
I've got a
wallpaper.
for it being painted, I have.
Well, who's paying for that? Because I'm not paying for that.
But the other thing is that room changed because it was supposed to be a nice, cosy dining room. We don't really entertain anymore.
It's got no friends.
You're filming in there, and I'm on live calls for work in there all the time, and it just makes us both look a bit red.
You should try putting a ring light in there.
So
it makes it all go marbly.
The purpose of that room has changed, which is why that's my want for the ceiling colour has slightly adjusted. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it.
So you can't admit the mistake.
No, because style-wise it wasn't. Daily use has changed in there, I'd say.
I think it was a style mistake. That was a very big faux pas.
So how did we compromise?
We didn't. You got exactly what you wanted.
No, we didn't. I wanted to wallpaper the ceiling, and you wouldn't let me wallpaper the ceiling. So
I think if you'd made poor Chris wallpaper the ceiling, I think the poor man would have literally had.
But the compromise was painting the ceiling.
It bent his mind enough trying to get that pattern to line up in the first place.
So I think that was the compromise. So no, I'll take that one. Right.
You're moving on very swiftly from that one
because I didn't want to choose that one.
You know you're on the bloody. What did you want to choose then? I've named mine. The questions goes both ways. Again, the next one was the patio. I can remember you being in a huff and a grump and a strop and a foul mood for every single weekend for nearly 3 months as we did that project.
And not because
and I'm looking out the patio doors at it now.
And not because this is an episode of that, like the Family Feud or something stupid. Not because I don't love the patio.
You just didn't want to make the effort to build it.
No, it wasn't that. And I'll tell you exactly what it was. What you did with all that massive pile of rocks, you'd say, go and get me a selection of rocks from the massive pile of rocks that I'm in the quarry that we had.
10 ton of branded rockery stone.
Put them around me and I'll just choose them. What ones do you want? It doesn't matter. I'll make them work. What size do you want? It doesn't matter. What shape do you want? It doesn't matter.
And
I would go and choose 10 rocks like a little bloody penguin. I'd go and choose 10 rocks and I'd carry them all over.
Penguins don't choose rocks. What are you on about?
Rock hopper penguins, they look after a rock for their whole life. No, it's not rocks. Who is that? It's otters. There's an animal.
Sea otters use stones to open shellfish.
There's one type of sea otter that keeps a stone for its whole life.
Yeah, in its pouch, yeah.
Anyway, I went over and chose 10 stones and I'd carry them all
over.
But
you'd only choose the same rock over and over again.
You'd look around you and go, none of these are no good. Then you'd go and get your own, bring them over, and then at the end of the day, you have to move all the rocks I haven't used back. And then so all I was ever doing, I think you wanted me out there to make yourself feel better about being out there.
No, I wanted you out there to make you do some work because I wasn't going to do it on my own.
The same rocks back and forth every weekend for a year.
Unfortunately, if the rock didn't speak to me, and it didn't talk to me about how it wanted to be placed and faced, it didn't get done. And look at the result of it.
I love it. Absolutely. And the only other thing is I didn't have your vision for the tank, which I absolutely love now. I didn't have the vision. I thought we were making quite an Italian-y kind of area, and I thought the tank was a bit brutalist, but actually the contrast of the brutalist and the roses I think is beautiful. So that we didn't compromise. You just got your own way.
We're going to be going. This section of this particular thing is going to go on forever, and the other there is one more. Yeah, you know exactly what it is. Yeah, you are. You're giving it the shifty side eye now. Yeah, those horrible orange doors.
No, I'm not. Sorry, no, I'm not engaging in this conversation.
No, because again,
no,
wrong.
No, style
horrible. No, hate it.
Beautiful.
Which is why I made you paint them, and then you literally painted all over the door frames. You painted all over the draft excluders.
Right, this is not
you painted all over the bloody glass. That's why you don't. Well, you started this.
What is something?
Next question.
What is something that you have learned about each other, and then Mark, what have you learned about gardening? So, what is something we've learned about each other? And then what's something I've learned about gardening?
I have learnt about you that when it comes to physical tasks, you do more whinging and whining about the physical task than it actually takes energy to do the physical task.
I'm going to choose something really nice to say here to make you feel bad.
Go on then.
No, I am, because you're just choosing like old Married with Children kind of sitcom humour now. I think we're very similar in our wounds, and I think that's what we then heal in each other. I think we've either got very similar wounds, or we're looking for a similar thing to help us heal, or we've got almost the opposites and we give each other what we need in the opposites. I think that's what I've learned about us. It's hard to explain without going too deep.
And you've learned an awful lot about gardening. You can identify all sorts of things.
I know. I was wandering around the Peterbilt's gardens, and I think I'd labelled. I'd said something about foxgloves, and I was like, "Oh, look at those lupins!" I thought, "Why the hell do I know what a lupin is?" And it was a lupin. It was absolutely stunning, and I want that lupin. I want that specific lupin. And I thought, why the hell do I know what that is? So yeah, I know a lot of plant names now. Right. If you're keeping on the horrible theme, I'm going to keep watching these. How are household and gardening chores divided? And what is something... Oh, great. So I've asked for this one. What is something that the other one is bad at?
Apparently I'm really bad at putting the chairs back under the table outside, which is now why there's tables and chairs all over the patio, because you'll learn.
What is... You haven't done that, have you? Fuck's sake. You should know by now. The podcast now.
What word did you use?
F word.
No.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry, everybody. Mark used an F-bomb. I'm very
apologetic. It does say at the beginning, it's very explicit.
Well, yeah, we'll have to mark that as very potty mouth. Bad mark. Sorry.
Why have you done that with the chairs? Right. So what is something you... No. How I'm answering this one because you're just going to be mean. I think it's taken us quite a few years to realise this and get into the rhythm, because I think at both different parts of our relationship and different stages, one thinks they're doing more than the other.
You're certainly doing a lot more around the house than me at the moment. You are taking the strain, because this podcast has taken up a massive amount of time,
really
as is filming 70 Rose reviews is a lot.
But, and just for anyone listening out there, I do actually have a job as well, just saying.
Do you?
I do exist outside.
I thought you were just my assistant.
But I think what's made what I understand in the last few years to help us kind of navigate this is that in the winter you do a lot more.
I do.
Well, certainly when I was out of the house more, you did. But you do more in the winter because you've got more availability in the winter because of daylight hours and winter weather and what the garden's doing, and it's our time to hibernate a bit more. And in the summer, I have to take the lion's share of it, so to speak, because
I am still a little bit worried that if I were, for instance, was struck down by a thunderbolt and it was my time on my cards now, I'm not entirely sure what you would do with a garden.
Oh, I'll get a gardener.
Oh, thanks. I'm so very easily replaced. Just like that. Just get some hired help.
No, I would get a gardener, but also I've got.
You realise I'm not just any gardener.
I've told you I'd have to have a full-time gardener, but I've told you I've got a novel idea though, which is how that happens, and then I have to teach myself gardening through your videos and tutorials on YouTube, so that I can keep your garden alive, and then I fall in love with gardening.
This is, by the way, the book that Mark is writing. By the way, he's actually writing a novel about me dying.
I'm about 10 pages in, and it's taken me 2 years.
This is like the bloody blanket you're supposed to be crocheting me.
I've got rid of the wall now.
You haven't?
Yeah, I told you.
I've waited nearly 12 years for this blanket.
I did 10 inches at every Christmas, Ben. It was never going to happen.
Oh. Oh, there's something I've got to come to terms with then, not having a blanket.
Right, what is something that the other person is bad at? I'm going to say making beds for you. You look like a raccoon's made it when you make a bed.
Thank you.
Not as in changing the bedding, but when you dress a bed. And I think I'm a particularly fussy person with...
You don't say.
With dressing a bed.
However, honestly, you're not.
However, I do sometimes think, what did he do? Roll all over it?
Again, for clarity, I think people need to know that you say to me, because you are out currently, you're not going to be, but you have currently been out the house for 2 days a week at around 4 o'clock, for 4:30 in the morning. You actually say to me on the days that you are actually in the house, you look forward to making the bed.
It's my treat.
Because it's a treat for you to do 5 days a week, because you can't stand the days that I make it.
You're trying to help and you make the bed, it's not, I'm so gutted. Because, and all day I think, maybe if
I am exceptionally tidy.
And you're very tidy. Yeah, you are tidy. That's not denying that. Right, what am I bad at?
What are you bad at? Filling drawers with stuff that we don't need. Literally what?
Couple therapy.
What do you mean? There's no therapy involved in it at all. You tidy things into drawers and then they never come out. You've got 3 drawers in this house that are utterly filled with junk. Oh, and or the other thing.
What's the third one?
The third one, you've got 2 drawers in the dining room and 1 in the kitchen.
One's the electrical drawer, one's my drawer, where you've got your own drawer, and the junk drawer, we have got one junk drawer.
And you also seem to think that by moving things out of the house to the workshop in speech bubbles, we're doing the speech bubbles, by the way, it sees it being processed. It doesn't. It just, again, just moves it.
This is very negative.
Right. You started
what
this,
is a
not
quirky ritual or tradition that you do together? We've got to choose one each, or something we do together. Little tradition that we do together that we like.
I don't know.
You can't be negative. You're struggling.
We've had we've had 16 years of creating our own traditions.
Mm-hmm. Mine's probably Saturday mornings RuPaul. I love the start of our weekend is watching the latest episode of RuPaul, whether that be UK All Stars like it is at the moment, or the OG series, or even Canada, or Down Under, or yeah.
Do you know what I'm?
I love that we have a cup of tea, have breakfast, and we watch that on a Saturday morning. I'm
not sure this really counts as answering the question, but I think you will agree with me there on this one. I am absolutely astonished that we seem to have, to within days, the same cycle every single year.
Yeah, we think
we're being so imaginative and amazing.
We did it exactly a year
and it's like, okay, well, and we get to, for instance, Christmas, and there is a certain series of meals that we have on the build up to Christmas, after Christmas, and they are literally always within like 1 or 2 days, because they'll pop up on your camera roll, they'll pop up on your, this happened 10 years ago, and it's like, wait a minute, we're still doing that. Or we went pumpkin picking on exactly the same day every year. And
you'll do that trick where you say, let's get out the house, let's go and have a bit of cake in a garden centre.
And we did that.
A garden centre, a gift shop, and then we go and buy houseplants.
I do love houseplants.
And we do that the same weekend of the year that we did it previously somehow, without meaning to.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes watch the same thing.
Literally watch the same films.
I'll be like, oh my God, we haven't watched
it. We watched the same film like 3 years ago on the same day.
Weekend of September we watched Lucas and Seattle.
Yeah, you are very much a nester when it comes to autumn. As soon as literally about 3 weeks before the clocks change, you are what you call cozying down the house, which means the curtains are pulled, the blinds are down, the lamps are on, beds are turned down, and it's bedtime at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
If you could take any trip together, where would it be? I'm struggling with this one.
Are you? Why? There's so many places I want to go.
I'm struggling where.
I am almost, well, I'm not giddy. I am giddy. Not almost giddy. I am giddy. Okay.
Probably not too good to do that in a podcast. That candle's getting a bit dangerously low.
Yeah, okay, that's now smoking. We're on fire, people. I'm giddy about our holiday in September.
Yeah. I've never been to Thailand.
Everybody listening that might have been following along does know that we had a big holiday for our 10th wedding anniversary last year to Mexico, and it was very nice, but we were talked into something else by somebody on the phone and sold into something different, and it wasn't quite what we wanted, and it was very disappointing, and it was an awful lot of money. This year I had my heart set on something, and if it's wrong it's up to me, but I am very, very, very excited, like almost giddy. One, it's the end of several eras for me that holiday will mark, but I'm excited for you to see Thailand. I've been to Thailand twice without you. I'm excited for you to see Thailand and experience the culture and the people, because the people are lovely. I'm very excited about a white sand beach with 17 acres of rainforest and a little private hotel and not many people, and having hopefully the exact holiday that we wanted last time, but in Thailand.
I think we just need to go into it with no expectations of it having to be a specific way and enjoy. And I'm
very difficult to please people.
And although Mexico had a few stumbling blocks, I still look back very fondly on that holiday, the time we had, and also the friends we made there, which are now 2 of our best friends. As a result.
Are they though?
They don't listen. But they don't listen. It is a test. Do you listen to this?
Yeah, I might like them a little bit.
So I would. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna pass on that one because I don't know where. Because I'm open to go anywhere really. Somewhere a bit bizarre, I think. I've got a few places I'd like to revisit, which is bizarre because there's a lot of places.
I'd very much like to see the tulip fields in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam's on mine actually. I've never done Amsterdam.
Very, very much like to see the tulips fields.
Yeah, Amsterdam's probably on mine. Right, favourite meal together. I'm going to choose two, I'm afraid.
Well, I already know what your two are.
Go on then, see.
Ratatouille and chicken.
No, not like dinner, but like not like a meal, like just any dinner, but like a meal we had together. Like
okay.
A memory, like something we did together, like a meal.
I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I can't just list my favourite foods.
Why not? You normally do.
Right, I'm gonna do three then if you haven't got one. You
okay.
Have to think, right, you pretend you're listening.
I am. What do you mean pretend I'm listening?
You're thinking of yours the whole time. It's human nature.
Yeah.
So I've got three, I think, and they're all a bit silly. One is our wedding day because we were up at 4 a.m.
I don't remember eating anything apart from in the evening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were up at 4 a.m. and we did. I can't say we did it ourselves. We had an amazing group of people doing it all with us. But we were decorators, coordinators.
Where did I have to go? Early in the morning. You had to go and pick up the coconuts and the apples from the fruit and veg, the frutelia or
something. No, this was the day before. Anyway, that night I think we'd hardly eaten. I think Vicky at some point put.
Well,
something
we
in my
also
hand
ridiculous, crazy diets as well.
I think Vicky put something in my hand as we were throughout the day at some point. But we didn't really eat, and then we got back to the hotel room. We were in that really fancy hotel at midnight, and we ordered bacon sandwiches. And we sat in the bed. It was
a very good bacon sandwich.
At midnight, the day of our wedding, and ate a bacon sandwich. And I think that just summed up our
on the bed. Yeah,
it was lovely, really lovely.
And we were in bed for about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we had to get up at bloody 5 o'clock the next day because we had to go back to our venue and get and a bloody flatbed lorry a flatbed lorry was coming to pick up all those hay bales that we had bought. And then resold to a horse yard who came and picked him up.
And then my second...
And we had to get rid of hundreds of coconuts.
Yeah. My second favourite meal is that same weekend. Was...
You remember that ridiculously expensive cheese that night?
That's it. It's that cheese.
Horrible.
Only because we were drunk. It was a really fancy hotel. We'd gone out for dinner. We went and had lobster and...
I did. I bought you a lobster dinner. So first and last time
I remember messaging Emma, our friends Emma, saying, if this is married life, lobster and steak in champagne, we'd even had champagne every day, then I'm up for it. And she was like, yeah, that's not married life. Or is that all?
And have you had lobster and champagne since?
I've had lobster, not often. But that night we went back to the hotel and we ordered the cheese board in the garden. It was a really posh hotel, and he came out and it was like Mr. Bean in Love Actually, because this poor young lad did this whole like speech about the cheeses.
It came on a trolley,
crackers and these squid ink cracker, all this, and it came with this big tablecloth and this big like, and then we were like, what are the chutneys? Like, I don't know. It was like, and he had all this, but we were very drunk, and I've got a picture of you, very glassy eyed, like a bit red from alcohol, and it was fairy lights. We're out in the courtyard, and it was the world's smallest cheese board. Nice, it was a lot of money, and but I just remember
it was a lot of money for what it was.
But I remember being drunk.
I can remember another very good one actually. On a completely different scale to you.
Yeah, me too. Go on.
The roadside diner we ate at
Palm Springs.
In Palm Springs.
That's my third one.
And we were sat out on the veranda.
But you say it's
on a road. Literally.
Was it a truck stop? Was it a country and western bar, or was it a diner?
I don't know, but it was definitely Palm Springs.
It was. No, it was.
And I remember it being really, really dusty.
Really, trucks going past.
Well, yeah, because kicking up loads of dust.
And it was like sticky 4th of July tablecloths on the table.
Yeah.
And it was the I think ribs or brisket or steak or all of it, probably knowing us, but it always melt in your mouth. And that to me, we sat there, we were like, this place is bizarre. But then the meat came out. It was like a barbecue, wasn't it? And the meat come out, and it was insane. That's probably my.
And that was a very, very long time ago.
And it was so cheap.
It was about 14, maybe 15 years ago.
It is 15 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Do you want to add anything to that, or is that yours?
No, I think they're probably bored of me waffling on about food now.
I don't know if we maybe answered this, but how are we most different and most similar?
I think after 16 years you kind of blend into each other, don't you?
Yeah. I do worry about that with our owners and their dogs.
We've literally become the same person.
Yeah, because I don't think we look alike, but we've always had it, like even in especially in other countries, brothers all the time. And then that woman the other week said, "Are you two brothers?" And I was like, "Oh no, he's my husband." And she was utterly shocked that we weren't brothers. And I can't see it, but
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
No.
But after 16 years, if you can start looking like your dog...
I've got no hair for a start. And you've got a fabulous head of hair.
I don't know what it is, but I don't see it. But yeah, I do think, merged into one, I do agree with that. Right, the last one. Oh, is it the last one? Yeah. Last one?
Mm.
I don't know if we should answer this for each
There's
other.
me thinking you were going to be asking me loads of questions about what have I learnt this season and what have I enjoyed and...
No. Go on then. I can't say favourite guest because that'd be rude. You've had some wonderful guests.
No, I've heard some. I've.
So I'm not going to ask that. Oh, okay.
And do you know what? I'm absolutely astonished. By how many people have been happy to talk to me and been really keen to talk to me. And I've only had, I think out of invited people, I've only had 3 people say no. And one of those is, I'm too busy right now. Can I come back to you? And I'm hopefully going to have them on season 3 because they are very busy. And 2 other people that said, no, that's not what I do. Yeah, and that of course is fine.
Variety of guests has been lovely.
One particular, they didn't feel that that they had something interesting to share, and I really do particularly feel that this particular person I had approached, and I 100% respect their decision because it's not for everybody, and it is a different move. This person's very private, but I really do think their story is interesting, and I think their story of why they do what they do is important.
But also, I think people that don't think they've got something to share, the ones with the best something to share, because they're the ones that are unassuming in the first place, which make them the best people to unlock. And
but, I've been absolutely astonished by the people that I've spoken to, how much I've enjoyed the conversations, and more importantly for me, I felt very isolated as a content creator for a very long time because I'm a very different type of content creator to a lot of people. Don't get really caught up in the hype and the gimmick and the clickbait.
You dance around.
Not often, but when I do, it comes from a place of enjoyment and joy and play. It naturally happens, and I found myself being very distant from a lot of people for a reason, because I just don't seem to fit into the niche, and it's really been quite nice to find a community of people that are very similar to me, respectful of me and what I do, and an admiration from my point. So it's been really nice.
You've been quite strategic about community players as well, people that...
No, I haven't at all.
Meaning that you haven't invited gimmicky people, you've invited people that bring to the community as well.
And I've generally bought accounts that I have a huge amount of admiration to and respect for what they do, whatever it might be. And one of the nicest comments I've had, and I know this particular person will be listening to this episode, one of the nicest comments I've had in an inbox message was, this particular gentleman was astonished by the variance of people that I'd had on, and that's been a real pleasure because I have. And I actually started this particular season. I'm not sure whether I should say this or not. Well, I'm going to say it because it's what I actually started at. I did actually start this season wanting to focus on women in horticulture. And I have featured and had lots of conversations with really lovely women in and around horticulture, but I'm still struggling to find more women in horticulture, which I think is really, really
that's
important.
Why that's important, because I do think it's very male saturated.
Yeah.
Especially influencer wise. I'm not saying, well, I suppose actually.
No, I actually think there are more female gardening influencers than there are men.
See, my news feed, because I interact with so many of your posts, my algorithm just thinks I'm into gardening, which
you are
I'm not.
By default.
Yeah. I was going to just then follow up with your question of what's the something you've learned, but surely it's got to be the whole of Dr. Costa's episode.
Oh God, yes,
allergies and
mic drop.
And what trees and
again,
fruit,
we should add to the conversation that when the approach, because that was that was one of the first people who approached me to be on the podcast. He said, "Oh, I don't think this is the right fit for you. I don't think how this is going to fit." And I said, "Oh, actually, I think this is going to fit really well. I think it's got an interesting string." And Dr. Costa was an absolute pleasure to talk to. Was really interesting, really engaging. There was so much information in that episode, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him again in Series 3.
Like many of your guests, he just had a really generous energy as well. So he had lots to share, but he also built on what you were saying. So it was very much a two-way conversation. He kind of batted the ball back between yourselves, and I think which works really well. I think when you can hear that there's interest both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you your favourite episode because I don't think that'll be. I don't think you could choose. No, I don't think you could. I don't think you should. I don't think you could.
I've enjoyed them all. I really have enjoyed them all.
And I think what's lovely is seeing most of the people that you have on share then the content after with their community, and then just seeing like other communities kind of come together and stuff, because people might be into growing a certain type of vegetable or growing something specific.
Oh yeah, because most of us are fixated on one particular thing.
Actually, just that cross-referencing between bringing communities together for those that did then go on to share the podcast, I think is really lovely. Right, this is the last one. I don't know if you want to answer it for each other or ourselves. Probably ourselves.
Go on then.
10 years from now. What will the year be? No. What will the year be actually? 2020... I was going to say 2032, but it's not going to be 2035, isn't it?
2035, yeah.
Bloody hell. Oh God, I've sworn again. 2035. Go on, 10 years from now. Loosely, just...
Loosely?
Well, yeah, not or manifest it with being specific, but I wouldn't limit yourself, because actually the unknowns...
We won't be in this house. We would have outgrown this probably. We're obviously staying here for...
And not through... We love this house. We
very much
love
so.
this space. We love this house. We love what we've created. But we also know that we've made anywhere we end up where we love, and we've got another one or two in us, I'd say.
Yeah, and I don't think we've got one or two. I think we've maybe got one. I'm not going to go to two. But
I'm a lot younger than you.
Yeah, we've got a couple of expansion projects to do here.
Yeah.
And then I will be at my physical limit with the restrictions of our plot, and after that I would have outgrown this garden.
Okay, so in a new
and well, yeah, that's exactly it. That's for me. That's the only goal.
I want you to continue to be in. I don't want to say being paid, but yeah, being paid. But I suppose monetizing your passion and monetizing your skills and your natural skill set, where you're not exchanging your time for financial gain, but you are being yourself for financial gain. More of that is
that's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, but more of that. I think more of that. That's what that is happening. But I want more of that for you, because I think you've got a lot to give. And I still want. I say I want, but you want it as well. You need your own TV show. It's just
That's what YouTube is. It's going to be.
But you need your own TV show, whether it be the next project, this project, whatever it is. But that's it. And for me, I think the same. I want to be able to monetize being myself and talking on my passion.
I thought you wanted to be my PA.
Yeah,
I mean, Mark, you are already unofficially my
dream
PA.
job would be a full-time PA. I would love that. I wouldn't mind being a kept husband at all. But yeah, that would be. I'd be happy with that.
Well,
what?
Can I be the kept husband first? Because yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that.
You just keep working just for now, just for the next year.
But no, I think I'd love to do a TED talk, but nothing. I'd love to do a TED talk, but I'm nothing at all. Like, just stand up and talk, and be paid for it for talking. I'm not going to say a swear word, but not talking rubbish, but just talking from the heart about anything.
See, I don't get invited to do a lot of that, and that's one thing I really would like to be invited more to. I don't understand why, whether people think I'm unapproachable, unobtainable, aloof, not interested. But locally, I've never been invited to a local talk, which is disappointing.
Yeah.
I'd like to do some more of that. I've only ever done one.
Wonderful one at Wisley. I think that went so well. And then of course the one that and again I think this is the difference, but the one for New England Rose Society.
Oh yeah, again that's
lovely. It's just such a lovely learning experience for us in terms of community and So I think and I think
because I see a lot of people with in my position with no qualifications in this subject who have large online followings who get invited to do it all the time, and I'm gonna say it because it's something that I feel I should say. The RHS and BBC Gardeners World magazine and all of the other large organisations online seem to flock towards people without qualifications, whether they think it makes people approachable, less threatening, and I don't understand, because I'm going to, again, not going to keep excusing it. I believe I am approachable and can very easily adapt the level of conversation and the level of information that I have to give, depending on the skill level of what I'm talking about and who I'm talking to. I don't make it overwhelming, and I do bring a lot of science to it, but I don't overwhelm people with it. I think I'm approachable.
But also,
I speak well.
But I think the thinking on you again, much like I've had to learn, not being pre-prepared, but thinking on your feet, trusting that you're going to say the right thing and you're going to have it to hand already.
I look at some of the people that keep getting wheeled out to these events, and I do not understand it, because they're as captivating as a flip-flop. They have the expertise level and the knowledge level of, what's your favourite houseplant? A spider plant. What's your favourite shrub? Photinia red robin. I mean, come on, let's push the bracket here. So whether I don't know why I don't get.
Yeah, we need to get you into more of that, because I think people would really benefit from it. And you think when we do open garden events, which are very, very heavily attended, you're literally horsed by people coming to wanting to talk or interact with you about plants, not just live stuff that's in the garden of saying what is this and stuff like that, but actually wanting your opinion on, well, there's that lovely lady in the village that thinks I'm you and dragged me into her garden to give me a tour around her garden, and I had to keep saying I'm not the gardener, but also wanted to be engaged because she was showing me around her beautiful home and garden, and I had to luckily I recognised quite a lot of it. But I did have to keep, because I didn't want to feel like I was duping her and saying I'm not Ben, as she toured me around her garden very proudly, but it was beautiful, so I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think that I'm again getting mixed up with each other, for each other. Yeah, more talks, that'd be good.
More talks, yeah. Yeah,
and I've gone from dreading public speaking to actually really enjoying it now. Really, really enjoying it.
It's a skill.
I think it's not, and I think that's the thing. I think you think it's a skill, and that's when you trip yourself up. When you realise actually, if you're talking from the heart, then it's fine, isn't it? That's what people connect with. When I think of all the wonderful listeners, I listen to Table. Sorry to plug another podcast on your podcast, but I listen to Table Manners, the Jessie Ware podcast, and the Lenny Ware podcast, and I quite often see the guest, and I think, oh goodness me, I'm not going to have any interest in them at all, and then end up thinking it's one of the most engaging ones, because they're talking about food and childhood and their connection to food or food memories and things like that, and actually it doesn't matter if you didn't maybe enjoy their films actually, but the human stories are the bit you connect with, so much so that a little unconscious bias plug, but then I remember they introduced this Michelin star chef that I hadn't heard of before, and I was like, I'm probably going to skip this episode because I don't think I'm going to get much out of it, and then actually turned out he went to the same school as me, and now as a Michelin star, he owns, I won't say its name, I'll butcher its name, long anyway, and I just found that really interesting that I was going to sign it off as something. So I think people speaking from the heart is always captivating.
There's one other thing I'd like to do in 10 years' time. I'd like to understand TikTok. I do not understand TikTok. And don't get me wrong, 20,000 followers on TikTok. I do not understand it. I don't like it as a platform. It's so glitchy. I don't understand the appeal of it. I don't understand how people find anything on TikTok. And I really keep trying, and as a content creator, it is so difficult to use. It is geared up for people to consume content, and that's fine, but still people have to be able to create content on the platform for people to consume, and it is so annoying and so difficult, and the numbers are just so random. I don't understand it. A video either gets 220,000 views or 300, and you'll have 50 videos that get 326 views, and then one that gets 225,000, and I simply don't understand how TikTok selects a video out of every, I don't know how many, 40, 50, 60 that you load. That one's we're going to push and put in the front of everybody, and it's going to have 1 million views, and the 49 that follow that are going to get 369 views, because it literally is 369 views or 1 million. I don't understand it.
Opposite to a creator, observer.
consumer
of TikTok. I think it's wonderful because I was one of those awful people that...
And I don't know how people make money from TikTok.
No, well, yeah.
I don't understand it.
You need to monetize your TikTok. I don't understand why that's not work.
I've tried, I don't understand.
Yeah, but I need to do it for you, don't I? I am the IT department. But I, as a consumer of TikTok, I think it's a wonderful community because I picked up in the pandemic and I've learned things about people in the world that I would never have connected with in my day-to-day life, about whole communities with whole cultures, with whole lived experiences of people that when you just run around in your same circles that you don't get exposed to. And I've learned a huge amount about other people. And if there's a downside to that, of course there is. My attention span's shocking now, and actually I can't even listen to a whole song anymore. But yeah, introducing myself to other cultures and other experiences and viewpoints. Other viewpoints, having my viewpoints challenged, I think it is one of my favourite things I've got from TikTok.
In 10 years' time, could I also stop listening to the same 6 songs?
That's a choice. That's your choice. That is your choice that you keep doing that. Yeah, there's a lack of music around at the moment, new music. Though you have got me on a Kim Wilde kind of... About an hour of my journey, my 3-hour journey last night was listening. I didn't realise she had so many covers.
I don't understand where we even got that song from. Where did it come from? What did we hear it on?
I Kissed a Boy.
That was it, yeah. And of course, I only used it in a reel because I thought I have to use that in a reel.
And I didn't know it was Kim Wilde.
Yeah.
I didn't. And there's another song.
I love that people are loving the music I use on some stuff at the moment. I get loads of messages on YouTube. But fantastic song. Well, keep the bangers coming.
You also get someone earlier saying this music's too aggressive for Black Spot.
It was what was the comment?
Not aggressive, hectic.
No, what was the comment?
Rock and roll.
I can't bring it.
Don't look. Too rock and roll for Black Spot. It's like
it was something like that. Too rock and roll for you to be
too heavy metal. I don't know. It was something.
Too bang. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not taking feedback at this time.
Yeah. I'm sorry you didn't like the music. It obviously
brought you free media.
It brought you to my account, and you obviously commented on it. So thank you very much for the traction.
Right, so that's all the questions. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Any final thoughts? Anything from Ethel? Ethel? Would you like to add anything?
Just a half and puff. I have to normally send her out the room when I'm recording.
She just said, where's my dentist stick?
Yeah, and Series 3 will be brought to you from the new studio.
Yeah.
Very exciting. We'll be back in, I don't know, haven't decided yet, September or October.
Yeah,
depending on how long.
September, because we're going away for a massive chunk of September.
Yeah, and then back into full force when I get home.
To October.
Yeah. And I'm making a full pledge to be much more present online. I've been so busy. I haven't been able to do live Q&As. I haven't been able to do garden tours. I'm just so busy with the book and with Rose reviews, which are going to be bountiful. They are going to come at a vast rate of knots now. There is so many to bring. And I am absolutely loving it. Yeah. Good
abundance of content, abundance of roses, and abundance of...
And I think as long as they still excite me, I think that's a good thing. And some of them are very, very exciting.
Let's end it on something we're thankful for, both of us. Not too cheesy.
Okay.
I'm going to say thankful for synchronisation, where certain things that no longer serve us have dropped away to make room for new opportunities.
That wasn't very easy, though, was it?
No. I think it was.
Do you?
Yeah, because
I feel like it... Yeah, okay.
Lessons. They're lessons, and
yeah.
as long as you take learning from it, I think... But the positive side is synchronicity, because you allow... When you let go of stuff, it allows space for new stuff to come in.
I am going to have to be even more cheesy than that.
I said mine wasn't cheesy.
Okay, well, yours wasn't cheesy. I was actually thinking this on my way back from Bournemouth just today when I was driving the car. I am very thankful for you giving me a good shove over the last 3 or 4 months, and just a little guiding hand on the back just to steady me, because I was particularly unstable for several months, and you pushing me into a different... I needed somebody else to believe in me for 5 minutes, and you did. And as a result, some connections were made at a couple of events which have been largely changing and really positive and great. And I wouldn't have been in those situations if you hadn't just put a little guiding hand. And ask some questions on my behalf, which I was too shy and didn't believe in myself enough to ask.
But I think,
and as a result of those, that just that little steady, putting me in 2 or 3 different places, I've had 2 or 3 conversations which have been unbelievably positive, productive, inspiring, and I don't just mean lucrative. I mean they've been really, really
it's
nice.
Synchronisation as well, isn't it?
I'll get that word again.
It is. It always is. But I think that you believed in me even long before I believed in myself and enabled me. And I think it took me a long time to realise that you, and this isn't a criticism, but I think you showed that you believe in yourself, but behind that is also doubt as well.
Huge amount of doubt.
Or there was, or there is. Which shows there should be, because I think if someone believes in themselves non-stop, it's arrogance. And if someone believes in themselves but also is self-reflective, then that's a whole different skill set. But yeah, I think it took me a long time to realise that actually that was maybe sat behind that, and then that's actually I needed to do for you what you did for me, and that wasn't through lack of not wanting to do it, but not realising that wasn't necessarily there in the first place. But also, I haven't done anything that you didn't do for yourself.
You're bolder with asking questions.
For you?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I believe in yourself, your worth. Yeah. I get that. And also, I think if I ask 10 people questions, one of them is going to land. So if I ask,
I think I just assumed that my accounts online would get to a point where people would be approaching me, and it doesn't seem to happen that way.
I think they will. I think it will.
They'll be the wrong people by then, though.
No, Timu, no.
Oh, I'm fed up. But yeah, they keep emailing. No, I'm not doing
You've
it.
got too much integrity.
And shade to anybody that does. Sorry. I don't care.
No, I was trying to end on a positive and thankfulness, and now you're throwing shade again. I was trying to bring it back round to positive.
Boy, it's
no.
landfill. Bloody Asda.
Lead poisoning. They had more. Was it lead in the shoes? It was something like 80%. I don't know. I better not quote numbers. I'm going to get a Timu. If you're listening, I'm sorry.
They're not listening.
They're always listening. You watch. I'll pick up my phone. You know what's going to be advertised.
Lead paint. Lead boots from Timu.
Yeah. Let me see. Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French did this on their podcast where they said certain things into the camera. I better not rustle on these percussions trying to find my phone. But they said stuff in the camera to see how quickly. I can't remember what they were talking about, and it came up instantly.
Well, my phone's in aeroplane mode, so it's not going to be listening to that. It's in dark
silent,
mode.
But no one phones me. Microaggression.
Right, are we done?
I think so.
Next question. No comment.
No.
Okay. Right, we'll see you again for season 3. Happy with season 3?
In October. Post-holiday, not pre-holiday.
No, I can't.
Not while on holiday.
No, I can't do on holiday, and I can't do pre-holiday.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
we're away from the 16th to the 2nd.
Okay, well, yeah.
So October.
Yeah. House burglars, by the way, the house will be actually house and occupied during that time.
House burglars,
not actually just making us out.
We have got people living here during those days. I didn't say which months. I suppose I did.
Yes, you did.
But we have got, and they're very tall.
They are very tall,
They are
actually.
very
yes,
tall.
Yeah.
And the dog will be here, and she's very aggressive.
She won't be here, no.
Ethel's going to be here.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not. Ethel's with Mum and Dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the house is in the charge of somebody else.
Yeah. I'm
The
getting,
watering department.
I'm getting Scotland mixed up with Thailand.
Yeah.
We're jet setting everywhere.
Again, right. we're burbling on nobody's interested in this now.
We'll be involved, so
yeah.
well done for that.
Right. We'll see you for season 3. Thank you. I really hope that you've enjoyed the season, and if you've missed any episodes, do make sure that you head back and give them a listen at another time. And also head over to Instagram, YouTube or TikTok and show the accounts that joined me some love. I'll be back with you from late September or early October 2025 for season 3, which will be recorded for the very first time in my new garden studio here at North Lodge. I hope that you enjoy the summer and, of course, all of the rose reviews I'm going to be bringing with you over the next couple of months. Until then, happy gardening.